So, yeah, that was my part in the Weird Heat song Disappointment. Originally written by Brian Altano, and then that's me guesting on it. I'm Thomas. Nice to meet you. So, the whole inspiration behind it was, of course, about disappointment. Before I kind of want to get into any other themes, though, one thing I just wanted to cover was just how I played the solo. I've gotten a few questions about it. It's not a hard solo, but I figured I'd just go ahead and explain it anyways, and then we'll get into the inspiration. Sorry about that. So, first thing is this guitar, it's in drop D, don't worry about it, but it is in standard flat. So, E, A, D, G, B, E, all flat. That's important just because the frets that I'm going to say, if you're in standard tuning, move them down one. If you're in lower tuning, move them, up. It depends on what kind of guitar you have. If you have a guitar with a high A string, God bless your fingers. Anyhow, the big bend at first, not the state park, the actual bend that plays is at the 16th fret of the B string. I believe he hit an E. Yep. And then now this trick was a trick I picked up from a guitar video. Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age talked about that he learned a trick from Jimi Hendrix and Billy Gibbons, but he was doing it incorrectly, and the actual trick goes something like that. Well, I wanted that little kind of grit there because, disappointment's never easy, so. And then you kind of hear it resolve, so. So, I use a lot of vibrato, which, if you're not familiar, is kind of vibrating the string, vibrating the note. It helps with sustain, and for me, it's just kind of a personal taste type of thing. I don't like to overdo it, but in some circumstances, it just feels right. So, 14th fret, 13th fret with a bend, and then 11th fret. And then it goes to 9th fret, and then back to 11th. And then it does the same thing. But this time it goes up to 16, and then 18. And it holds that note. So, that's the high part covered for now. Actually, you know what? I'll finish the high part, and then we'll go back to the low part. So, then the high harmony part is 18, 16, 20, 18 again. And that's the end of the high part. It's pretty simple, all things considered. Now we get to the where the solo gets interesting, kind of where it found its voice for the whole thing, which I'll cover a little bit later. So, as we discussed, it starts out on the 16th fret. Now this fret becomes important because this is where the bend starts. So the idea of it is supposed to be, I believe the interval is a fourth. It's either a fourth or a fifth. It's one or the other. kind of the idea of it. To have it harmonize and then start to meet it, and then it meets in unison. Then the lower, so kind of go over the frets of that because I never did. We're gonna go over the 11th fret on the B string, bend up, and then 11th on the E. So what I'm doing is I'm bending up, hitting the E string, letting it still ring though. So there's a little dissonance there, and then I pick, and then bring it back down. And then eventually I just mute the top string because at that point it's just kind of, it's not even sympathetic ringing at that point, it's just, you know, noise. So 13, 14, 16, 18th fret. So that's basically that part. Then it kind of gets to the harmonizing part, or two separate moving lines rather. So it's all on the B string except the last note. So on the B string, it's going to be a 4th fret. So it's an E. No, I'm sorry. A D and an E. B and the C. Then A, if I'm not mistaken. So 4th fret. 1st fret. Then 1st fret bend. Now, you might be thinking, why would I write something so bluesy on such a not bluesy guitar? Actually, I wrote it on a Telecaster. The original idea was to be more playing along with what Brian had originally written, you know, for like the keys and MIDI strings that he had and MIDI guitars. It ended up being something like, I think it was something like... Something like that. It was nothing showman-y or anything like that. And then I just kind of sent a funny video of it. Like doing that and a big guitar face and everything, just like with the big sheeting grin. And he said, no, do that. So kind of had to do that. And it ended up working out for the best. To me, with Disappointment, you know, there's always a beginning and an end to the disappointment, you know, unless it's my love life. But jokes aside, a lot of it, you know, with Disappointment, you know, there's some beauty in the disappointment, you know. So what I didn't want to make this weird chaotic thing. I'm not good at sweep picking, which is like, you know, just going like, you know, bucket head or anything on this. You know, to me, Disappointment sounds like a blues song that someone's playing, but you can harmonize with. So the idea was that, you know, this blues guitarist or this blues player is... And then here comes, you know, your disappointment, like you're walking on the road and you hear this guitar or you hear this song and, you know, you're already in a shit kind of mood, and just, you know, you're feeling the blues. Well, you're not going to be singing. You're going to be trying to think up your own tune. So that's where... Because whenever I'm listening to songs that either have a very catchy melody, some kind of lead line I can latch on, sometimes you kind of like to play around with it. And in that playing around, sometimes there's disappointment and sometimes there's success. And to go back to the, walking on the street anecdote, there's been plenty of times when, I'm walking, whenever I used to work down in the city, that, you would hear this one song playing and this other song would start, and it'd kind of create this weird, for lack of a better word, synergy. They kind of blend together. So that was kind of the whole inspiration for it. As far as guitar players go, I didn't really have anybody to pull from. That's not to say that it didn't actually pull from some people. I've gotten comments that it sounds like the guitars from Soundgarden, and a couple of others. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting. What was it? Maggot Brain, I think, or something like that. I'm sorry, I forget some of the comparisons. I'm very flattered, by the way. But in terms of I'm going to sound like that guy. That wasn't my intention, but I will happily take any kind of references to other guitars because that's very cool to me. I'm still learning in a lot of regards. But all that being said, and I think I've kind of given the breakdown of it, if you'd like to know more about the solo, just leave a comment or something like that. I'd be more than happy to answer any kind of questions about it that I can. And by can, I mean not like there's an NDA. I just, depends if I remember it or not. But yeah, we'll give it one last go and then I'll sign off. And if you want more of these, request that I be in more Weird Heat. Or, I'll just do them anyways if I'm asked. So, give me a moment, we'll get this started, and then we'll sign off. Why didn't this happen in the original?